Today I'm reading from the book Path to Happiness and studying one of the 4 keywords, identity, that relates to the first primary word of strength. So we're saying that we need 4 aspects to develop strength. It starts with boundaries, and then identity, and then choice, and then truth. That which empowers us to apply strong, clear boundaries is identity. It is inconceivable for a person to be consistent with their boundaries unless their sense of self is well determined. Equally, it is the application of strong, clear boundaries that creates a specific, unique identity. The snowflake is often celebrated as an example of uniqueness, and the fact that each one is unlike any other is considered a good thing. How incongruous, then, that the human ego receives such a beating in spiritual teachings. The ego is exactly that which defines the identity as unique. Surely it should be celebrated. In Latin it simply means I. No other being that is alive today has ever existed or will ever exist, is very much like any other. In fact, when we look at any individual, we find that their package of idiosyncrasies to be completely different from everyone else's to a remarkable degree. Each of us has somewhat similar physical characteristics, but psychologically this is far from true. The mind of each one of us, and therefore our perceptions and emotional experiences, is absolutely unique. In order to rub along together, we make rules and suggestions about the extent to which self-expression is permitted. Quite reasonably, it is thought expedient to limit pushing and pulling so that the community can function. Yet we always have to test whether these imposed limits correctly reflect the best interests of society as a whole, or whether they serve a powerful, fearful, and fearsome elite. And anyway, inwardly, or when alone, there is really no reason to compress our sense of who we are, what we think, and how we feel. Such unwarranted compression is harmful and must be challenged by informed, mature individuals. During the formative period of life as young children, we shape our thoughts and behaviors in alignment with both parents. We copy them. Since we are rather more attentive when they disagree with each other, and it is in our best survival interest to have them in harmony together, we tend unconsciously to adopt a balancing strategy. So the baseline qualities of our own identity are a blend of mothers and fathers, and something else in between. For example, if mother unconsciously is always kind and father is always parsimonious, the child might grow to be generous with loved ones and tight-pursed with all other expenditures, and highly aware of this as a successful financial policy. During the teenage period, the appropriate behavior in order to bond with peers is rebelliousness, but still it is in reference to and therefore shaped by parents. We can see this parental blend of qualities, feelings, beliefs, and attitudes as a family template. The third force, that which modifies from the template into individuality, is the creative urge of the self. This is the essence of individual identity, which takes time to unfold and flower. Although hints are in clear evidence during infancy, which become very clear, much clearer in childhood, even during the 20s there remains a lot of uncertainty about how to present ourselves in the world. Indeed, the phrase life begins at 40 could really better be seen to mean identity has matured by 40. The older we get, the more eccentric outside of the circle we become. In other words, we have our own centre of self, which is not excessively that of either of our parents or society's norms. All of our interactions with friends, lovers, family, and society demand of us some special attitude. In each case we are supported and encouraged to become individual and interesting to be with, and so a colourful range of expression is generally likely to bring pleasant attention. Family tends to be more restrictive, society less so, provided we stay within boundaries of normality. Lovers are more usually deeply supportive of our emotional peculiarities, and friends are typically far less judgmental than others when we do and say strange things. These are generalizations, of course, but perhaps helpful as guidelines. That said, all of these identity-shaping agencies are also very restricting at times. They all have their own needs and agendas, and will not be infinitely tolerant when we rattle their cages or resist their persuasion. Friends collectively create peer group, pressure, society's scapegoats, extremism. Parents project their unfulfilled ambitions upon their adult kids, and lovers have self-centered emotions, which inevitably lead to some degree of manipulation. Let's not get too upset about this. It is the way it is, and ever has been so. The rewards and penalties for having our identity align or rebel must be viewed for what they are, the grit that allows the pearl to form. Be aware that the rewards are more difficult to resist than the penalties. A flattering pat on the head can be rather more harmful, in fact, because it is so seductive. These pats on the head include titles at work, awards and salary increases. The building of identity is a trial and error procedure that actually never ends, and who we are is an eternal work in progress. A great many people would benefit from copying an amoeba. This creature's only strategy is to try something else whenever its chosen path is blocked. Lots of aspects of identity are of trivial importance to us and should not become defining features. Does it really matter to you who wins the match? Do you care much whether right or left get elected? Maybe you do, but maybe you don't actually care. The key issues, what matters, need to be identified and sponsored. Typically, these are best described in terms of qualities rather than opinions. Qualities such as kindness, capability, fairness and humour, for example. But it's your choice. Then they can be defined as principles. A well-defined identity is described by a set of principles consistently applied. A principle is a pre-scripted decision to act in a particular way, no matter how inconvenient. It is not expediency that drives us to self-realization, it is principle. Life is change. Always we will come across new situations for which we have no map, no experience and no predetermined safe course of response available. In such circumstances, an unprincipled person can blow about in an unresolved state of confusion, with no sense of what to do. This is very uncomfortable, and leads to the surrender of will to whomever is clear and dominant. A strong sense of self is the power to stand firm as the winds of change blow hard. Firm identity is a rock. Even more important than this is the understanding that it is our existential purpose to form the best personality we can. Without this, the very meaning of life, though it can be glimpsed, can never be revealed. This is because the meaning of life is different for each one of us and cannot be identified, copied, or even learned. It has to be discovered. Discovery occurs as the self becomes itself. This is the essential life mystery. To complete this life mission requires us to find both clarity and courage. It takes clarity to see which aspects of our identity are inauthentic, and courage to declare that we disagree with what has been imposed upon us. Naturally, some of our parents' qualities are indeed completely in alignment with our essence self, so too are society's norms, but not all of them. The task is to see this and to act upon our perception. All in all, identity is a creative artwork, and there is no legitimate power that has the authority to limit our full spontaneous expression of true self. Now, the spiritual practice that can help us with this development of identity is chosen as Khalik Rahman. Ya Khalik, Ya Rahman. And Khalik is creativity at its earliest form. This is cutting the block of stone out of which we will make a sculpture. This is the first splash of color, or the first form. This is the essence of the picture that we're making for ourselves. This is the beginning of our creative expression. And we're doing this with these hard sounds. Khalik. You know, it's quite cutting sound. And it's like a stonemason uses strength to cut the block that's going to make the sculpture. And we do that with our principles. We say, nope, I'm not doing that. I never do that. I never will do that. No. And it's not nuanced. It's not even a gentle statement about who you are. You know, I am this, deal with it. It's that kind of strength. Whether you like it or not, I'm going to be like this. It's that level of personal creative statement. Rahman, however, is a lot softer. Rahman, it has a root in earlier languages, Hebrew, for example, Canaanite, and have this sense of the fertilized womb, Raham. Previous to that, Ru and Mayim were essential spirit meeting the waters of potential life. So Ru, Mayim became Raham. Raham expresses itself in two ways. Outwardly as Rahman, which is what we're studying now. Inwardly, maybe a little bit more inwardly, as Rahim. And Rahman is like a projection of love. The deepening of the sense of heart is experienced when we say that. Rahman, it's vibrated in the heart. So, whereas the first word in our practice, Ya Khalik, it's strong. The second is very soft, Ya Rahman. So, I am who I am, and I'm strong in that. I'm not going to be negotiated with. However, if you let me be that, I will be loving, merciful, kind. That's our practice. Ya Khalik, Ya Rahman. Ya Khalik, Ya Rahman. Ya Khalik, Ya Rahman. Ya Khalik, Ya Rahman. Ya Khalik, Ya Rahman.